Honorable Alice, welcome once again. We are going to have an interactive session with you. Where members of this committee, as you are aware, we are set up under the Act to conduct hearings and find your suitability or otherwise in taking up the position that the President has offered you. We are chaired by the Speaker, yours truly here, Moses Wetangula, and I'll invite members of the committee to introduce themselves for purposes of Hansard. I know that your colleagues, you know them, but the Hansard requirement needs that they introduce themselves, starting with the Deputy Speaker.
Good afternoon and congratulations, Honorable Wahome, on your nomination as Cabinet Secretary. I'm Gladys Boss, member for Wasingishu County and Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly. Thank you.
Kimani Shongwa, Kikuyu Member of Parliament.
Opio Wandai, Ugunja MP.
Junet Mohammed, Suna East.
Owen Baya, Kilifi North.
Robert Mbui, Kadhiani.
Rehab Mukami, County MP Nyeri.
Ferdinand Wanyonyi, Member of Parliament, Kwanza, Trans Nzoia County.
George Gitonga Murugara, Member, Tharaka Nithi.
David Kosing, Pokot South MP.
Abdul Rahim Daud, North Imenti, Meru County MP.
Honorable Mishimboko, MP Likoni.
Nelson Arap Koech, MP Belgut.
Thank you, Chair. Caleb Amisi, MP Saboti.
Dido Raso, MP Saku.
Abdi Shurie, MP Balambala.
Emase Mary, MP Teso South.
Stephen Mule, MP Matungulu.
Naisula Lesuda, MP Samburu West.
We also have our secretariat led by our clerk to the National Assembly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Sarah Kioko, the acting clerk of the National Assembly, and I'm accompanied by the Deputy Director, Legal Services, Mr. Michael Karuru, and other staff who are assisting the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Alice Wahome. Our next step is to get from you your documents as indicated in the invitation letter. If you have them as a bundle, you will give to the clerk after I mention them. They will check your copies that you leave with us against your originals, which you may be at liberty to take back after the meeting. You have your compliance with tax obligations from KRA?
Yes.
You do?
Yes, I do.
Use the microphone, please.
I do.
Clearance with the Higher Education Loans Board?
Yes, I do. Chair.
Clearance with the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission?
Yes, I do.
Certificate of Good Conduct?
I have one.
From the DCI?
Yes, I have one.
Very good. Your national ID?
I do have the original with me.
Your academic certificates?
Yes, they are there, Chair.
Okay, that gracious lady will have them and compare your copies with the originals. Where there's a deficiency, she will report here and we will advise you.
The only deficiency is that I could not trace my original certificate, University of Nairobi, but I have a letter from the university dated October 12, certifying that degree.
I am also a witness that you went to the University of Nairobi.
Thank you,
are
Chair.
2 years behind me.
Yes, I thought it was 1 year.
1 year behind me.
Or thereabout.
And you duly graduated and practiced law with me in the corridors of the High Court.
Thank you, Chair. I still hold the current practicing certificate and have put one here.
Excellent. I don't think any member has any issue with that. The next question to you, Honorable Alice. Are you a dual citizen of any country apart from being a Kenyan citizen?
I'm a Kenyan citizen, no other citizenship.
Mm-hmm. We will give you 10 minutes to introduce yourself. Who is Alice Wahome? What are you? What do you want from this committee? Under 10 minutes, the better.
Yes.
Thereafter, I'll ask you one or two other questions. Then we'll open it to the plenary.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Mr. Speaker, sir. I am still a member of Parliament as I appear before this committee, so I recognize you, Mr. Speaker, and the Deputy Speaker, the honourable members of the committee. My full names are Alice Modhoni Wahome. I am a daughter of a peasant, small-scale coffee farmer. My father died at age 100 years, and I hope I can reach that age, Mr. Speaker. Chairman, to this committee, I was born in a village called Muruka. I went to primary school just next door my home, which was a kilometer away, Karumu Primary School, with other boys and girls in the village. I walked to school. I came back to school, went without lunch when there was no lunch, and I finished my primary school there. And I joined Siakago Girls for my O-levels. We did O-levels, Form 1 to Form 4. I finished in 1974 and then joined. I finished in 1977 and joined A-levels for 2 years, Bishop Gatimu Girls. It is from there, Gadu Girls, that I was called to Nairobi University as a law student. And I did my 3 years. After 3 years at Nairobi University, I graduated with a Bachelor of Laws degree, and then I joined law school for 1 year at Tudor Jackson, and thereafter, my first job was a state counsel at the office of the Attorney General, where I practiced for about 2 years. I left Makecha and Company, the late Makecha and Company. From there, Mr. Chairman, I set up AM Wahome and Company Advocates. After finishing, I think I did work for until 2014, when I was joined by my daughter, who is a lawyer, as a partner. And I believe she's in this room, so that we formed Wahome and Akendi, where if I am approved by this committee, I'll be resigning. I have held my practicing certificate from 1985 to date. It's still valid for practice, but I'm acutely aware, that if I'm approved, I will not be able to practice. It is I would like to say something about my young age. I have worked like any other village girl. I have milked. I know how to milk. I know how to cut grass. I have cooked for my brothers, as was expected, even though some of them were older than me. I didn't understand why, but I know I did those jobs. I have followed my mother to the garden, to the shamba, up and down, and she was one of my driving forces or factors, because she was a hard worker. My father was a polygamous man. We are 48 siblings in my home, and
very hard-working man.
Something I don't wish most men or many men to do, but and especially with the current economic times, I know that it is really a situation that I looked forward to actually making an improvement in my life. In terms of my upbringing, I could say within the village, I was one of the few privileged girls because my mother was very keen to ensure that I go to school. My father educated all of us through his coffee farm, about 9 acres of coffee. I was determined from that age to make a difference as a girl. I looked forward to leaving the village and joining other working people. And as I sit here looking forward for approval, and I hope that I will be approved, I would want to encourage other girls from the village going to school even without shoes today, maybe no water in their homes, no running tap, no food sometimes, but that there is a hope and there is a future, and they can be able to work and reach higher heights than what is their situation. I think, Chairman, I'm saying that I would also want to let women know that there are many opportunities. If women understood, despite the barriers, patriarchal barriers, cultural barriers, economic barriers, society barriers, that there is still a lot of opportunities unexploited, and I am looking forward to exploit the current opportunity if I am approved. Chairman, at this stage, allow me to say thank you to His Excellency the President for finding it fit. It's really one opportunity in a lifetime for a woman who has come from where I have come from. I say that because the vulnerabilities of a growing girl, the vulnerabilities are very huge. Escaping pregnancy at primary level, escaping pregnancy and other hazards that face even boys and girls to reach this University of Nairobi at that time and still today was the university is not a mean achievement, and I know that it is our pride to see more women and girls achieve even at university level. I know, Mr. Chairman, that I actually have a husband. I married while at the university. I think I was a bit too fast. And I'm grateful because the man, the father of my children, is still my husband today, which is also not a very small achievement. And especially it's a major deal to be able to live with a husband, the same man, for I think now 39 years. I still love my family. I have 4 adult children, 2 lawyers. One is almost finishing his law school. The other one is my partner. I have a doctor in the family, and I have a media personality in the family. Of course, they are all adults with their own families. Maybe that is sufficient to say, but I also want to let the girls in Siakago girls know that at the time I went to school in Siakago girls, in Embu, Bere, those days there was no water. We had to go to fetch water in the streams. And I know that today the life there may be different, but I hope to be able to visit them if I'm approved as the Minister for Water, to find out whether they have running water in the bathrooms, because we did not have running water. We used to fetch water in our karais, and then we would wash outside, and the sisters would, of course, during darkness, we would ensure that you wake up very early, because the bathrooms were also not enough It was a hard life, but it was good. In terms of the village life, we must be able to ensure that our schools have the adequate facilities. I think maybe that is enough. I, of course, have been elected twice. The third time this particular term. Very grateful to the people of Kandara. It is also a very unique achievement for a woman in a patriarchal society to be elected as a member of parliament for 3 terms. There are mixed feelings for Kandara people. I want to confirm to them I will not be very far away, despite maybe the duties that I may get away from the constituency. But I want to assure them that I will keep in touch with them, albeit that they may have to have another member of parliament. Indeed, campaigns are very, very hot there now, even before I tender my resignation, Chairman. But I want to assure them that I'm grateful, forever grateful. I was the first woman in Murang'a County to be elected in a constituency. After me, 2 other women have been elected. We lost one, but we still hope to get another or 2 other members. And therefore, that is a place and space I'm very proud to speak about. Kandara constituency is very progressive.
Thank you, Alice. That is like the story of all of us. Well done. I'll ask you 1 or 2 other questions. Have you ever been dismissed from office for any conflict between personal interest and public or official interest?
I have not been dismissed, Chairman.
From any office?
In any office or from any office.
With that rich history and background, long practice and so on, what is your financial net worth?
The gross is about 392 or thereabout, 392 million shillings.
Mm-hmm. And what are your current and anticipated sources of income?
Maybe I could say the net. The net is 218 million shillings. The others are debt, yes. My net worth is 218 million. And this is a value of properties between myself and my husband. Some of them.
Those are family assets?
They are family assets.
Mm-hmm. What are your current and anticipated sources of income?
Until September, I have earned a salary from Parliament, and I have been in and off practicing a bit very, very low, low key, because of course as a member of Parliament you have very little time in your hands. I get about an allowance, fuel allowance of about 100,000 from my farm, and I also, from these properties, some of them are in my name, I get about 500,000 shillings a month. At the moment, they do not have tenants since COVID, and therefore I have no income coming from that end. I'm relying on the little 100,000 and my salary from MP, of course. Yes.
Great. Now I will open up to the members to ask you questions on your docket. And the structure of our engagement is robust but respectful. We encourage you, being a veteran parliamentarian, that all questions are through the chair, all answers are through the chair. Resist any attempt to engage directly with any member of the committee, because that will not be helpful. I'll now give the first opportunity to the majority leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Alice, you've been very passionate, and I could tell you're very passionate on the girl-child issues. And now that you mentioned Siakago girls and how you went there and there was no water, I'm sure you are also certain that many parts of Siakago today still don't have water, and so are very many other parts of Kenya. His Excellency the President, in his address to the nation, to Parliament, did indicate that there are plans by the ministry, and I know you are yet to report to the ministry, but I would really want to hear your thoughts on the question of the water purchase agreements under the PPP model. And being a lawyer, I'm certain you would be able to interrogate such agreements. But of concern to me would be the cost. Because as you have said, water is critical, water is life. And if that commodity becomes very costly, either to government or to the people, then it also becomes out of reach. What measures do you plan to institute in case you are approved to ensure these water purchase agreements don't end up in PPP arrangements that are extremely expensive either to the exchequer or the end product being very expensive to the ordinary Kenyan who is yet to access water?
Yes.
One first.
Doing 4 batches, one day.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Honorable Wahome, some Kenyans have accused you of having a volatile temperament. In other words, of having a short fuse, that you lose your temper so quickly. Okay. Some Kenyans accuse you of that. They may be wrong or they may be right. A case in point is the issue of 27th October 2017, when you were captured on camera roughing up and assaulting an IBC official by the name Martin Malonza over some disagreement on the filling of some forms, electoral forms, at Ngararia Girls High School in Kandara. I'm sure you'll recall that incident. From where you sit, how would you take this act, considering the requirements, the stringent requirements of Chapter 6 of the Constitution, and especially Article 73, Sub-Article 1, which provides that authority assigned to a state officer, and by then you are a state officer, because you are an MP. That authority assigned to a state officer is a public trust to be exercised in a manner that, among other things, demonstrates respect for the people and brings honor to the nation and dignity to the office. 2, there is a matter, that is the Succession Course number 527 of 1981, if you may remember, where Miss Alice Mudoni Wahome, I'm not sure if it is you, will confirm, together with other 3 advocates, were accused of misappropriating Kenya shillings 284 million, money that came from the estate of Mbiu Koinange. And this is captured in the judgment that was delivered by Justice Agri Muchelule, then judge of the High Court, on the 7th May 2020. What do you have to say about this matter? And how does it place you within the context of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, and particularly Chapter 6 of the Constitution, as you plead with us to approve your nomination to this very high office? Thank you.
I'll give to the Deputy Speaker.
Again, Honorable Wahome, congratulations. As a woman, I'm immensely proud of your getting this far. As you know,
said the same to any man.
Yes.
With a light touch. She has
Possibly
not said the same to any man.
Yeah. It's called positive discrimination. I see that part of your docket will deal with the sanitation. And as you know, 73% of the plastic waste generated in Kenya remains uncollected and unrecycled, which is something that can produce energy for the cities around Nairobi. How do you plan to make a change to this tide and ensure that recycling and proper sanitation does, in fact, become a thing of the order of the day? Thank you.
Yes, Junet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Chair, I wanted to ask the nominee that the docket that she has been nominated for is a docket that requires its services all over the country. Water is essential and water is required all over the country. So I wanted to ask her, to ask the nominee, how well does she know Kenya outside Kandara and outside Siakago Girls High School? What is her grasp of the country? Does she know outside Kandara how the country looks like? The second question I wanted to ask, and my last one, is